You're listening to Casting Class, an engineer's guide to manufacturing aluminum castings, hosted by Batesville Products. For over 75 years, Batesville Products has been engineering, casting, machining, inspecting, and polishing aluminum castings for over 70 industries nationwide. In today's episode, we'll continue to share our experience and industry secrets. Casting Class is in session. I'd love to introduce our two guests for today. So a lot of you surely recognize Tim Weber. He is our repeat host here, brings a lot to the table with 36 years in experience. And we will additionally call on Shannon here. So, similar to Tim, Shannon brings about 16 years in Foundry, American Foundry Society experience. She's got a great background in the casting industry. She is the current managing editor for Modern Casting and Casting Source. So really, really great publication out there. If you get a chance, check it out.
So, Shannon, can you talk a little bit about Casting Source?
So this magazine is about casting, engineering casting, purchasing castings. So it's there to help, design tips that might be specific to a casting. We go through all the different kinds of processes because that there's so many different types of processes and alloys. So it's not like a one and done, okay, I know everything now. We're just there to kind of help guide, answering some questions that they have to help them do their job better.
Shannon, thanks for joining us. We're going to talk about the top 5 Casting Source articles.
Yeah, and Shannon's just an encyclopedia of Foundry knowledge. And the other thing is she's just incredibly curious. So this is going to be a good one. I think this is going to be looking forward to it.
Kind of was curious and looked through our website to see which article had the most hits, the most views, and this one popped up. 8 factors affecting lead time is really one that people seem to be searching and then revisiting over and over again.
We talk about this all the time. We do castings every day, all day long. A lot of our customers, they do it once in a while, or the engineer might be first time they've brought a casting to a project, or not that often. So these questions are the same thing we run into all the time. So that's spot on. Again, you got to have a completely cooked design before you can start into the tooling. So working with the engineers and figuring out, what's castable and what needs to be done in a secondary.
So I like one of the quotes from this article, I think kind of tells it from like the Foundry point of view, that the lead time for your casting supplier he's not a function of time to manufacture. It's the certainty of facility availability.
It's the number one thing we've run into this year at the industrial shows that we've done is schedule. I mean, that's the number one thing, what is lead time? Is that and the second one, I guess, would be is material a factor. But you're right. The number one thing everybody's bringing up, it's the hottest topic. Go number 2, casting cost considerations. Top 5 here with the geometric complexity, dimensional tolerances. Can it be as cast? Can we actually hold those tolerances, or do they need to be a secondary machine? Surface finish and the aesthetics. It seems like everything's getting tighter and tighter. Everybody wants a part that not only performs but looks good. And then again, the quality requirements. What do we need to meet? Is this a certain industry that's got certain specs? Certification of those specs, and then also, qualifying the materials. So does the materials come in certified? Is the heat treat certified? Those type of things.
Right.
And then, you got packaging. It's 5. It's no good if it doesn't get there. If it doesn't get there in good shape, you can do all the above and show up and it's a fail. So these 5 are actually the top 5 for us also.
It's good to know these things because you can, you can think, maybe I don't need X if I know it's going to affect the final piece price that I'm really trying to, whittle down.
The one thing is just to know what you need up front and know what you know and know what you don't know. Okay, so the engineer or the designer can just get whether it's us or another foundry involved as early up front as they can. A lot of the problems can be addressed, and that includes the cost. You don't want to get to the end of the day and all of a sudden the tolerance is too tight and it can't be cast, and you got to throw a machining operation in. getting the requirements up front to whichever foundry, whichever process you're using, I think is key to 100% of the casting cost consideration.
Also think about the secondary operations, because
Right.
there are things that you can do as the casting side of things to make the machining easier or less extensive.
Absolutely. How do you hold it? Where are you picking up the datums? Those things need to be determined up front before you start making parts. And absolutely, the machine shop, wherever it is, needs to be pulled in, as well as if it's powder coated or painted, or if there's some assembly. All those folks, as early as you can get them involved, it's worth its weight as far as the casting cost, but also just the lead time. It really shortens things up. The other thing is if you're moving parts around a lot, if you're packaging them up, getting them from one facility to the other facility, that doesn't seem to be that cost effective. So taking those things into consideration, I think foundries will for sure look at what can they do, what can they capture in-house to add value and to solve problems for their customers. All right, let's talk about 3D printing.
We do a lot of articles on 3D printing and additive manufacturing, but I liked this because the people who are quoted in the article, one of them, Marshall Miller, he's a buyer of castings, and he really just tells his peers to just try it, especially something like this 3D printing of tooling, which is like a very low cost entry point. The cost to try it out is becoming lower and lower. So Marshall is really just telling you folks to just try it out, see what you can do with it. It's not going to be the answer to everything. It's a one tool in your toolbox. But this is kind of neat because if you just need the one replacement part, or maybe you have an existing pattern that just needs one little adjustment for one part. So then you can just print and insert, and that without having to create a whole new pattern or destroying an existing pattern that you then would have to remake, because tooling is very expensive, as you guys I'm sure know.
Just a comment from my end, it's been pretty interesting just how it's shifting the industry. So Shannon, you made a point on it's not going to solve everything, but we now have solutions to be able to offer some type of prototyping. Now we're still a production shop, but there's areas we can help direct customers, in different relationships to help build that product to get it to a production type state. So I think it's interesting to see how that shift has been made within different types of capabilities that it's allowed across all casting industries. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the equipment's gotten faster. The equipment's gotten cheaper. The materials, the variety of what you can print is just amazing. I mean, it just keeps getting, faster and better all the time. I think it's a great tool.
This particular piece was originally just a fabrication, and it was re-engineered to be a cast part and end up saving the company money. Kind of go through the story of the part from beginning to end. We talked to the people who engineered it and cast it.
Yeah, I think that's a path that a lot of folks in the foundry industry see, where they take a fabrication and move it in towards a casting. Similar to what you just talked about, the customer brought to us similar type of thing. Just said, this is a 12 pieces. Can we get this into a single casting? So it worked out well, and it ended up being a permanent mold, very good volume. I think they paid the tooling off in like 2 months. It was ridiculous. The amount of labor, the amount of SKUs that they had. Again, that's one of those things. I think if you can get the foundry involved early on, that's the place to do it.
Sometimes I feel like a broken record because I talk about that a lot, but I think it's just so important. That communication can really save headaches and money.
Every casting that's designed, I know there's some copycat stuff out there for sure, but every casting that's designed is essentially a custom piece. A lot of the good foundries will get that stuff in and really help that person walk through how to make that product manufacturable. And it's really cool to see stuff that goes out into the marketplace that a lot of common eyes may not notice or may not know that are there, but serve a great purpose in the marketplace. So can you guys talk about kind of the city savings in different projects that you see out in the marketplace that, really, I guess, in a lack of a better term, help give back to the community in a way?
Obviously after Hurricane Katrina, they needed to rebuild the levees and new pump stations. And so a lot of these are huge castings that were used in the new pump station. They're keeping the water out of New Orleans. It's just a really cool example of the importance of castings to just everyday life. And
it's funny where you see castings. I mean, they're everywhere. And this is a great article. I went back and checked this article out because these are massive. These are big parts. You read the article and you come away with all kinds of questions like how did they move that around? Because you've got a mold that's twice as big as those castings. And then you got to get the metal into that mold, and you have to do it in a homogeneous manner so you're not causing turbulence. And you still need good parts, right? But they're big. They're big parts.
The sheer amount of time that it takes for it to solidify. These molds are sitting there for days.
Nice.
Tim, I think you got one sitting on the desk in front of you too about something that kind of gives back into the.
This was a cool part. This is one of our customers, and what they do is they make equipment for rehabilitation for kids. First of all, everything's a candy color, right? It has to function. It has to look good. It's interesting. And even on these, we have a variety of sizes because, kids are kids, and you start out and they're this big, and then they get to be this big. So then they still have the same needs as far as, when they're injured and they've got to go through the process of rehabilitation and therapy. So it performs a great service to society. And when you see the items and they talk through it, it's like the whole thing was just so clever, the way they put it all together. It was a neat project to be involved with.
Absolutely. And with that, Shannon, I appreciate your time today. Tim Weber, you as well. And if there's any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us.
Cool.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
You're listening to Casting Class, an engineer's guide to manufacturing aluminum castings, hosted by Batesville Products. Be on the lookout for our next casting class on the first Wednesday of every month. Until then, you can find more resources like videos, written guides, and case studies on our website, batesvilleproducts.com. That's batesvilleproducts.com. See you next month.